Flipped over on the shoreline, but still the mana that he has. You know, he just enlightened everybody. He's such a warrior in his own place, like his brother. You know, riding big waves. He pushed it to the limit and still going. We have Bruce DeSoto. He pushed his limit. We have Brada over here doing everything, and all inspired by him.
Now, of course, the day concluded with that beautiful paddle out ceremony out in the waters beyond the line here at Waikiki. Now, when we were here early in the morning, like I said, those waves pretty big, but they calmed down just in time for everybody to make it out there safely and have a really special ceremony. Now, we're going to share more of today's special memorial for Uncle Clyde Aikau, that legendary waterman who so many people are saying hui ho to. Kyle Chinen will have full coverage on later editions of Hawaii News Now. Reporting in Waikiki, I'm Casey Lund. For now, we'll send things back to you.
Thank you, Case. New at noon, Hawaiian Airlines says a cybersecurity event affected some of its IT systems this morning, but flights are operating safely and as scheduled. The airline says after learning about the incident, it worked with authorities and experts to investigate the problem and address it. No other details about the cybersecurity event was provided. We'll update you as we learn more. Another person has died following last week's car crash in Punaluu. It happened Tuesday night on Kamehameha Highway. The Honolulu medical examiner has now confirmed a 28-year-old woman is dead. She was among 4 women in a car that collided head-on with another vehicle. Police say speed played a factor and no one in the car was wearing a seatbelt. This is now the 39th traffic fatality on Oahu this year, compared to 15 at the same time last year. And 2 women are in the hospital this morning following a crash in the Wahiawa area. We're told it happened at around 11:25 last night near the intersection of Whitmore Avenue and Uakaniko'o Street. EMS tells us 2 cars rolled over. Inside were 2 females, one 25 years old, the other 24. They're said to be in stable condition. No word on what caused the crash, but we will continue to monitor this and provide you any updates as we get them. Arrest logs have identified the man shot by police Tuesday in Makaha as Iosua Stevens. HPD says the 38-year-old was wanted on 3 felony warrants when he rammed a stolen truck into an officer's vehicle several times, causing it to catch fire. Officers fired about 8 shots at him, leaving him in critical condition. And despite his criminal record, loved ones tell us Stevens also co-founded the nonprofit Hanai Ka'aya Ulu, a group that connects children with cultural community service projects.
Our job is not to inflict harm on others. Unfortunately, situations such as these create situations that are dynamic, chaotic, and officers have to make split decisions, and sometimes those decisions result in the harm of others.
Stevens was released pending investigation, but he remains hospitalized. The 2 officers who opened fire have been placed on administrative leave pending investigation. A Hilo judge has denied BJ Penn's request to verify his mother's identity. According to the Hawaii Tribune Herald, the UFC Hall of Famer announced Tuesday in court he will represent himself in a civil and criminal case against his mother, Lorraine Shin. The 79-year-old filed a TRO against Penn after he allegedly assaulted her over the Memorial Day weekend. Penn claims his real mom and other family members have been replaced by imposters. Penn is charged with domestic abuse, refusing to comply with police and violating his TRO. The judge said Penn can question his mother in the civil case during an evidentiary hearing in August. Penn's criminal trial is set for July 2nd. Anxious residents packed a cafeteria in East Oahu last night, hoping to learn more about a landowner's development plans. Now, they're especially concerned because several farms and a school are not renewing their leases. As Ben Gutierrez reports, the meeting ended with the community in limbo.
Until recently, this building housed the Japan American Institute for Management Sciences, or JAMES. However, it recently vacated, leading nearby residents in Ha'aione Valley to wonder exactly what's going to happen with this parcel of property. And hundreds of them turned out for a town hall at Kaiser High School to hear directly from landowner Kamehameha Schools.
My impression of this meeting tonight was that the community was not going to be providing input, but that Kamehameha Schools was going to come and tell us what their plans were.
The big concern is that the trust will build a residential high-rise or a commercial building on the 6-acre property at the top of the Hawaiian Droop between Hahaione and Pepe'ekeo streets. The grassroots group Hawaiian Advocates for Respectful Development wants to be involved.
Hawaiian has a bunch of shopping centers, which I'm not sure, but I was told all the properties are owned by Kamehameha Schools. And we can't even fill these shopping centers. So we don't.
I hear so very many of you when you say to me and to each other, no high-rise and no intensified commercial development in our valley.
Kamehameha Schools has the right to develop the James site and all parcels they own in Maunganui as allowed by current zoning. That is their kuleana.
Whether they decide to put a high-rise or not, I would say that's partly speculative, and we don't want to go in speculation. We want to start with a conversation.
Kamehameha School says it doesn't have a concrete plan yet because the lease doesn't expire until 2028.
Well, some people would say that, well, it's such a large organization, they should have a 5-year or a 10-year or a 50-year plan. And it is possible they don't. We don't know that. Although people are asking, I think, is for that transparency.
We want to take a lot of time, put a lot of thought and care into making sure we do what's best, for the community, for the place, for Mauna Lua, for Hahaione, and for our beneficiaries, and for Native Hawaiian education.
In Hawaii Kai, Ben Gutierrez, Hawaii News Now.
To national news, the Trump administration aggressively pushing back on doubts about the effectiveness of the U.S. strikes on Iran's nuclear facilities. This as the White House decides to limit some intelligence given to lawmakers as senators get a classified briefing on the attacks. Melanie Zanona has the details from Washington.
The Trump administration executing a full-court press in its defense of the U.S. strikes on 3 Iranian nuclear facilities.
The world is a much safer place.
Decimating, choose your word, obliterating, destroying Iran's nuclear capabilities.
After a leaked Defense Intelligence Agency's preliminary assessment cast doubt on whether the bombs destroyed those sites. The Pentagon's top officials outlining details of Saturday's mission. Joint Chiefs of Staff Chairman General Dan Kane showing a video of the tests of the massive ordnance penetrators used in the attack.
Operation Midnight Hammer was the culmination of those 15 years of incredible work.
Kane said the intelligence community will conduct the final battle damage assessment. And referencing the Fordo target, stopped short of saying it was destroyed, but said the missiles found their mark.
The trailing jets saw the first weapons function, and the pilots stated, quote, "This was the brightest explosion that I've ever seen. It literally looked like daylight."
Administration officials briefed senators today on that mission. But NBC News confirms the White House plan to limit intelligence sharing with them after the leaked assessment.
Well, nobody should ever leak any classified information. At the same time, the president doesn't have a right to limit the information that the United States Congress gets.
Senators spoke after the briefing.
Nobody is going to work in these 3 sites anytime soon.
The latest NBC News Survey Monkey poll finds Americans are divided over those strikes, with 45% against the attack versus 38% who support them.
Lawmakers say they should have been consulted before the strikes, and the Survey Monkey poll shows 60% of Americans agree with them. Melanie Zanona, NBC News, Washington.
Aloha on this Thursday. We've got cloudy skies in the forecast, but not a lot of rain. We will have these windward and Mocha showers come through from time to time, but you can see it's much drier this morning than it was yesterday. We are expecting a fairly calm Thursday with typical trade conditions except for those cloudier skies. We'll likely see some afternoon sunshine for some leeward spots. Rain will be confined mainly to those windward and Mocha areas in the morning, and those winds still running swift at 15 to 20 miles an hour.
Thank you, Guy. The voyaging canoes Hokulea and Hikianalia are now in Raiatea, an island northwest of Tahiti. Mahelani Richardson and photojournalist John Suyat were there for the arrival ceremony.
The canoes arrived here at Marae Taputapuatea on the island of Ra'iatea a little after 9 o'clock this morning, and there were hundreds of people here to greet them. We were on a motorized canoe watching the crews on board Hokulea and Hikianalia. Now, the crew got permission to enter Te Ava Mo'a, the sacred ocean passage to Ra'iatea. Canoe paddlers brought the crew members to shore. There's also a group from Kamehameha Schools, an indigenous tribe from Taiwan, and of course the public was there to watch the arrival ceremony.
All of a sudden, one of our teammates, Nikki, just goes, I think that's it right there. I'm like, that's a cloud. That's, oh my God. It was such a rush. You know, it's not one of those like big moments. It's the land finds you, really. It's not the other way around. You don't find the land finds you. So it was really awesome. It was really emotional moment.
Once on land, they held a stone and ava ceremony on the Marae Taputapuatea. This marae is a sacred and historic site. It's considered the center of the Polynesian Triangle, where ancient voyagers traveled to Hawaii, Rapa Nui or Easter Island, and Aotearoa, New Zealand.
To see you all coming through that pass, that was such a sight. And it's only befitting that a few weeks after the whole world met in Nice for the United Nations Conference of the Ocean, you are here. And we are all here to remind the world that we, island nations, have so much to teach the world.
We'd also like to thank all of you, Nahuru Moana, Hokulea, Hikianalia, me whaafaite te ao maohi, for gracing us with your presence. And we'd like to honor as well those who came before you since 76, 50 years ago. We'd like to honor them again and thank God for keeping you safe on your voyage from Hawaii to here.
The crew members of Hokulea and Hikianalia plan to sail to Papaete, Tahiti. That's where they'll have a big ceremony in the capital city of French Polynesia. Reporting from the island of Ra'iatea, I'm Mahealani Richardson, Hawaii News Now.
Ahead on This Is Now, with traffic-related deaths surging, there's an effort to lower speed limits statewide. What areas are being targeted first? Plus, intense emotions inside a New York courtroom as closing arguments begin in the criminal trial of Sean Diddy Combs. We'll be right back. Welcome back. A movement to slow down drivers has led to slower speed limits in Oahu school zones. But as Daryl Huff reports, most people have no idea the law has changed.
Signs near nearly every school on Oahu pronounce a 25-mile-an-hour limit with extra fines for speeding in a school zone. But it turns out the limit is actually 20 and has been for about 7 months. Safety advocates pushed for the lower school zone limit last fall, and it was signed by the mayor in November. But the city's Complete Streets administrator told the council today there is no money for new signs.
Obviously, if we got a bigger pot of money, we could do this more at once. If not, we're going to just continue to phase this as the money becomes available.
West Side Council member Andrea Tupola wondered if volunteers could help.
In some of these areas, we have homestead associations, we have other groups, bicycling groups, after-school groups. Is there any type of way that they can help so that we can do it faster or maybe add to the pot that you have?
While replacing signs may sound simple, there are 187 schools on Oahu which may need up to 800 signs. If the speed reduction movement expands to all 25-mile zones, more than 7,000 signs would need replacement. Police cannot enforce the 20-mile school zone limit until signs inform drivers it's the law.
So people should just continue to sort of follow the signs that are out there, 25, until we come in and we can replace them and get them down.
Meanwhile, the state has a new law signed by the governor that lets the counties reduce limits without engineering studies that had been required.
You don't need a data or a study to know that speeding is a problem in and out of our neighborhoods. So this will remove that barrier to allow the counties to act quickly and swiftly.
The city's Complete Streets and pedestrian safety plans both call for the 25-mile limit on all residential streets to be reduced to 20 or even lower. But so far, the council hasn't gone that far. Data shows lower speeds mean fewer accidents and fewer deaths.
We actually are hearing a lot of calls for traffic calming, for reducing speed limits.
Daryl Huff, Hawaii News Now.
Closing arguments began today in the criminal trial of Sean Diddy Combs. The music mogul, who insists he's not guilty, faces charges including sex trafficking and racketeering. Jay Gray is following the trial in New York.
You know, after more than 6 weeks of testimony, evidence, at times intense emotions inside the courtroom today, final arguments begin in the Sean Diddy Combs criminal trial. Prosecutors the first to go and expect to spend about 4+ hours making their final points to the jury.
The very first thing they said to the jury was, after weeks of testimony, you learned Combs is the head of a criminal enterprise. So they're starting out there with that RICO charge. They're also hitting a theme. The defendant counted on silence and shame and his fame and power to put everything, he's above the law.
Now, Combs' defense team will get their last chance with jurors tomorrow morning, and then the judge gives instructions to the jury before deliberations begin either Friday afternoon or more likely Monday morning. The music mogul has pleaded not guilty to charges including racketeering, conspiracy, and sex trafficking. If convicted on all of the counts here, he could face life in prison. That's the very latest right now from New York outside the courthouse. I'm Jay Gray, NBC News.
Let's take a look outside with our tower cam on this Aloha Thursday. Beautiful conditions right now, but what can we expect for the weekend? Guy's gonna have your full forecast in 2 minutes.
weather with Guy Huggy.
On this Thursday, we're 26 days now into hurricane season. Still very quiet with that regard in the Central Pacific. So that's good news. We're not seeing a whole lot of rain this morning. A few minor splashes for a handful of windward spots. Much drier, but also cloudier. We're expecting cloudy skies today, and we're expecting these winds to still run pretty swift, especially from Maui to Kauai. They'll be running about 15 to 20. The Kohala coast will likely be windy as well, but Kona is going to be the outlier. They've got light winds on tap, so it's going to be a little bit sticky down in Kona. Humidity not an issue for the rest of the state because the winds are expected to run swift again today and tomorrow at 15 to 20 miles an hour. So humidity not an issue. Air quality should be pretty good as well. And with all the cloud cover, still temperature should run to about 87, 88 degrees for some leeward spots. Surf's on the way down. We still have some energy rolling into south and west shores, but this energy is waning. We are expecting another south boost coming in maybe Monday, Tuesday, so watch for that. And the high tide, very, very high this afternoon, and there's still a chance for some coastal flooding due to the south swell and due to the extremely high tides. Flooding from rain, though, not likely anytime soon. There's not a whole lot of rain in the forecast. Not that it's going to be totally dry. Because we'll have trade winds through tomorrow running pretty swift, there's a good chance for early morning and overnight showers. And then when the winds slow down, we're talking from Saturday through Wednesday, there's a chance for some afternoon pop-up showers. But throughout the forecast, except for today, we'll still see a fair bit of sunshine.
Thank you, Guy. Still to come, a new dinosaur species that was found in Colorado makes its public debut. What we know about the Enigma cursor in 2 minutes. Let's see what the internet is talking about. Olive Garden making a splash this summer by unveiling its own version of pool noodles. Get it? Like pasta. You have the floatin' fettuccine, the taking it easy tortelloni, and the relaxin' rigatoni. You can buy them online starting Monday. They're $40, and each pool noodle comes with a free themed first course item, such as a breadsticks bucket hat. We know the famous cow made of butter. Now there's a life-sized chocolate cow. That's right. Weighing more than 1,100 pounds, the confectionery creation was the centerpiece of the 3rd annual chocolate festival in Osorno, Chile. Now it's made entirely out of chocolate. And get this, liquid chocolate even flows out of the cow's udder. Now at the end of the festival, the cow was broken up and auctioned off to the attendees. And a little dinosaur with a big mystery is making its debut across the pond. 150 million years after it roamed the Earth, the Enigma cursor, a new species of dinosaur, is getting a new home at London's Natural History Museum. Scientists say it was a plant-eating dinosaur about the size of a Labrador. And they say it walked around on its hind legs and big feet and was quite a speedy runner. This Enigma cursor specifically was unearthed several years ago in a quarry in Colorado. The Natural History Museum says scientists are constantly learning about these prehistoric creatures and naming about 1 new dino species every week. Pretty cool. Thanks for watching This Is Now. Here's another look outside as we leave you on this Aloha Thursday. More news first at 4 right here on K Channel.